what did we contemplate on the sloka, chapter 6, stanza 30? Go ahead.
To me, the whole chapter is about you. I am you, and you are me.
Beautiful.
And there is nothing else. So everything is about that. I'm you and you're me. That's what I get from it.
How about Mukesh?
So that's the one point. The other point is experiencing everything else, which is part of it and which is part of me. In other words, any other human beings or any other life or any inert matter, that is all me. And the only thing is, how do I experience that? So contemplating is, now I have to experience deleting my boundaries and experiencing going beyond my boundaries, and how do I become one with everything else?
Beautiful. Deleting or vanishing your boundary. Excellent point. How about you, Jagannath Bindu? Both of you. Everybody should participate. Don't worry about right or wrong. Okay.
Sonaji, I always try to remind myself that I'm a divine being and everybody around, everything is also divine. And then only the reason we see the differences are because of the forms, like different forms, whether it's human form or animal form. And that is my way of trying to constantly remind and treat everybody respectfully. And that's the way I try to do. Do that. I try to think about it every day in the morning when I get up.
Beautiful. Chris. Chris Labar.
Yes, I'm sorry. I couldn't unmute. I apologize. I came right when you were turning off the sloka, so I didn't see it. So I'm sorry.
No problem. All it says that, as Maheen says, I am everywhere and everything is in me.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you get out of this local?
I'm everywhere and everything is in me.
Correct.
So God is God, or whatever it exists in everything, every being, every moment. That's what that means to me. It's although that's hard to understand, because when I see things that like like war and things like that, I don't understand. It's hard for me to equate that with God, but that's me.
Okay, very good. And I also appreciate that you openly admit where you could not see God and where you could see God.
Yes.
That's where we have to contemplate continuously on it, and also requesting the same divine entity to guide us. Okay?
Yes.
All right, Alcina.
Okay. What I think it says is we are all one. Everything we see and believe and perceive, we are all one. We are just separated by a physical body. But if the body is not there, we are still all one. I think that's what it says.
Beautiful. sometimes when we allocate the forms like a human body, plant, stone, animal, and even in human body, we identify that some such person is Maheen, Vijay, you. The identity separates the person depending upon, I'm using the word Sanskrit name, Nama Rupa. Nama, name, Rupa, form. So with this we are separating. But this Nama and Rupa only can exist if we are conscious and if we are alive. Otherwise, name and forms are meaningless or useless. This perhaps to a human body may not make much sense, and it may be difficult to perceive. But if you take a golden chain, and out of the chain, if you take out the gold, then what happens to the shape of the chain and the name itself, the chain? If you taken gold out of it, how could you even think that there is something? As a result, there is no chain. And secondly, if you take the gold out of it, then even the shape doesn't remain. Shape is Rupa, Nama is the chain, Mala. Whereby the point to be understood is that everything is gold. Everything in us is consciousness. And we have learned a long time back that there is nothing like your consciousness and my consciousness. Consciousness is consciousness. And still, this example will clarify it better that if you take the mist of water and then you take a little splash of water and you also take a wave of water and then you take the ocean of water, so far as the shapes are concerned, meaning mist, splash, waves, and ocean. The shapes are different, but the substance is H2O for the water. The same way we can say water can be from Atlantic Ocean, or it can be Pacific Ocean or Indian Ocean, but the substance is H2O. I do not know about other planet or so, but if at all there is, substance is H2O. So whether you take a mist, you take a splash of water, whether you take a small wave, large wave, small ocean or large ocean, everything is water. And none of these can exist without water. Can mist exist without water? No. Can splash exist without water? No. No wave can exist. So to say, everything is in me, meaning water, everything is in water. If you take that as the physical example, and the same way, if you still go further, water cannot also exist without consciousness. That's why consciousness is everywhere. Yo mam pashyati sarvatra. One who sees me. Even the seer is him or it. One thing herewith I would like to bring it to your attention. No matter what we talk, how much we talk, no matter what we study, but it is so difficult to perceive God in its abstract form, meaning formless. So all the intelligence put together is divinity, is God. Intelligence I'm talking about. All the energy that you talk about it is God, Isha. There may be some differences, but let's not worry about it. Isha is nothing but energy and intelligence. So far as if you keep on observing energy in various forms, all energy put together is consciousness. And that consciousness, there's only one. And that oneness is, you can call it Krishna, Christ, whatever you want to call it. And even Krishna and Christ are the forms. Understand my point? Krishna, Buddha, Rama, Shiva, and there are certain functionality of that functionality we give different names. But they're still nama. And as soon as the nama comes, name comes, the form comes. And as a result, the limitations exist. Particularly to all of you, you go for worship the individual divinity, like Rama, Krishna, Christ, Buddha. Do so. And they, in Sanskrit, are called Ishta Deva, the form with which you feel comfortable.
Mhm.
All the time, abstract form may not be possible. So this is just to have dharana, to have contemplation. But then each one of us have to bear in mind that when you talk about Rama, then you may say, how could Rama be there on Shiva's abode, which is Kailash? Or how could it be in Saudi Arabia? They don't know what Rama is, so to say. So for your convenience sake of our limited understanding and our worship, we take a convenient form that is called Ishtadeva. There's absolutely nothing wrong in doing so. But during certain stages of silence, even though you initially started thinking about Rama or Krishna, you went into such an ecstasy, such an abstract form, so that Rama was the means to get you there, but then Rama is not there, and still Rama is there. You see my paradoxical language? Rama is not there, and still Rama is there. And so is the situation with Krishna, Christ, Buddha, everywhere. So that pattern of thinking brings you the omnipresence and omnipotent. Omnipresence means what? If you go to a church and you see a cross of Jesus Christ, you still see Rama. If you go to Shiva's temple, you still see Rama, because Rama and Shiva are not separate. They are separate and they are not separate. It is like a mist and a wave. You cannot call mist as wave and wave as mist, but both are the same. How? Because both are because of the water. If you take the water out of it, there's no mist. If you take the water out of the waves, there is no wave. And at the same time, the mist and the moisture is present everywhere, including our body. Our body also, scientists say, 70–80% is the water. And without water, body cannot exist. So, understanding this concept in vastness, a friend of mine, me and his wife, we were sitting in our green belt. There's a swimming pool area. And over there, they happen to have a business of enzyme manufacturing. So the thought came out of nowhere. And enzymes are also some kind of microbes, a micro animal. If we think that we have a heart, and you take to a smaller creature like a mouse also has tiny bitty of heart. If mouse has a heart, ant also has an even tinier heart. And if the ant has tinier heart, you can say the bacteria which go and move in our body also has a heart. So everywhere, and these are the microbes we think of very, very, very miniature form. But those also we cannot see. Those also will have their heart. And the heart will also have its mathematics, meaning when the pumping will be going on and when diastolic and systolic pressure must be happening. So to say, howsoever small or large, this functionality exists. This calculation exists. This science exists. Even though we don't know. So you can say like the heart exists everywhere and even in the plant too. There may be different shape and functionality, but still that functionality, that nourishment in the form of green juice or any juice. We have red juice, they may have green juice, but that exists. And that is divinity, God. Everywhere you see. So as you keep on contemplating and you keep on thinking and go deeper and deeper, you can easily see Yo Mam Pashyati Sarvatra, one who sees me everywhere. Understand the minutest point and certain things that you and I would think they are insentient, meaning they do not have life. We think so. But is there something called lifeless? You go to the beach and you find shells, even though appears dead, but they are also part of the life. We have bones in us. So you think bones do not have life? So important to understand that there is not a thing which does not have life. That's why wise people have so very well said that God is omnipresence, omnipresence everywhere. And as a result, this sloka, the first quarter of the sloka says, Yo Mam Pashyati Sarvatra. So for those people, do you think that they will have to go to a temple to worship? Understand that. At the same time, they will also not oppose going to the temple because temple is also the part of the universe. So if they could see it in their own house or in an ant or a little stone, so they could find it in temple. So they can find it in church, synagogue, mosque. And in their mind, there will not be any division that this religion is good and that religion is bad. Because to them, they are not worshiping whale, they are not worshiping mist, they are worshiping water. And water is everything. So to say, dear friends, my humble request will be try to remember, in order for us to be a true devotee, Bhakta sees it everywhere. Yomam Pashyati Sarvatra. And now let's see how the following quarter of the stanza is also included in the first quarter. Let's look intelligently. Yomam Pashyati Sarvatra, one who sees me everywhere. Everywhere, if you can find him or it, then don't you think we all are in that everythingness? Just understand that. In other words, whether you take ocean, whether you take a whale, you take a splash of water or mist of water, whatever may be the concentration of saturation, moisture content. But everything, all the different forms are in that water. Can you not say so? That's why the second one says, Sarvatra Maya Pashyati. Me. I'm present everywhere and everything is present in me. And when everything is present in me, now you see, let's go to the beauty part of it. How could you dare to say, my right hand is mine, but the left hand is not? Is it not? My eyes are mine, but the nose I don't know. So to say, when you start contemplating on it, your vision becomes wide open, akash, limitlessness. Nothing like mine and yours. And furthermore, if you start talking about, when you're talking about the scriptures and their meanings, depending upon our understanding, we assign some meaning. But as soon as the meaning is assigned, we bring it nama, meaning limitations, minus and yourness. As soon as you bring in translation, and Sunita may say, no, that's the way I translate. I mean who? Limitations. But the divinity is vastness. So this loka is so powerful. We use the word omnipresent so conveniently. But do we really mean what you mean by omnipresence? Omnipresent, omniscience, omnipotent. Omnipotent means everything, all the power is him or it. At the same time, we go to the temple and we say, oh, Swamiji gives $1,000 donation. And I will have my plaque put in the board saying that Swamiji donated $1,000. But was $1,000 yours in the first place? Who are you to put the name to it? And still, Daniel says, God is everywhere. So how liar could we be? And then on top of it, we say, oh God, I will give you donation of $1,000. See that I get my business done properly. Business. Really speaking, all this speak of our ignorance. And this individually, this local is so powerful. Sit in silence and start contemplating on it as to what does it really mean by Pashyati Sarvatra and Sarvam Me Pashyati. I see God everywhere and everything in me. Seeing God everywhere, that may still be possible with our limited understanding. But to see everything in Him is little difficult. Even though, including scientists, cannot reach to the limit of sky, galaxies and galaxies. So, dear friend, consider that as a richness of this kind of literature. And we feel so fortunate that we have it. So once, and the second line it says, those who see everything in me and me everywhere are protected by me. And what do you mean by protected by me? Say you are moving in Irvine, for example, and there are cops everywhere, and you are a VIP person. Do you ever even have to think of your safety? You're not. You move so carelessly, you won't be even afraid of somebody stealing your wallet. Okay? Because the protection is everywhere. And this is about Irvine only, and we are talking about cops everywhere. But everywhere doesn't mean cop is there 5 miles up in the air also. But Yomam Pashyati Sarvatra, there is nothing like sky and there's nothing like earth or the what we call patal, much deeper part of. Everything everywhere is divinity. So one who has that deeper conviction, I'm using the word conviction, understand, it's not conveying something, it is conviction. And the word conviction denotes your own experience. While cooking, if you would have ever gone and touched the gas flame, nobody else has to tell you that gas flame is hot and you will get burned, because that's your experience. So if you start seeing the divinity everywhere, that means you are meditating 24/7. You do not have to think at all that God may be in Mukesh's house, but not in Jagannath's house. That's not omnipresent. So this sloka, my dear friend, it is so deep and so powerful. So at least for our understanding, God is abstract. God has form. God has limited form. And God had limitless form. Everything. So hereafter, at least all of you, when you talk about the word God, please never ever think that my God and your God. Never assign any values to it. And so it is descriptionless. As soon as the nama and rupa comes into picture, limitations comes into picture, and as a result, it cannot be God. That is our mental interpretations. So when you will start thinking everywhere, then at once you will see how your mind almost looks like exploding with the vastness. You cannot even think of it. And for that stage, Sanskrit word is virata, beyond boundary. So you, those of you who have studied Bhagavad Gita, in that couple sloka describe virata swarupa. Okay? So that is limitlessness. And in that, if you ever happen to see a picture, they shows that everything is happening out of Krishna's body. That is symbolically presented, that from his mouth and nose and eyes and ears, people are coming out and people are going in. Meaning, everything is happening in the body of Krishna. So that is the pictorial way of representing what it is. So the word Virat. So if you ever happen to look at the sky and see the vastness, feel the air, feel the breath, then once again this loka will come into picture. Yo mam pashyati sarvata, sarvata mayena pashyati. With this, I would like to stop here. And if you have any questions, kindly do ask for your individual comment.
Soniji, I have a question.
Yes.
I kind of understand that divinity is everywhere and in everything, but are we saying it's there only in sentient being and not in inanimate objects?
There is nothing like inanimate and animate. That's what I meant by saying sentient and insentient.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Because what would you call inanimate? Let's take just simple example. We know that.
I think I lost sound.
Hello.
Yeah, hi, hello.
We know that the turtle has a life of at least 500 years.
Mhm.
And third time, sometimes remain motionless at a place for a couple of days and couple of months. So when they remain motionless, do we say that they are dead, or they're insentient, or they're like a rock?
But what about like sand, stones, and stuff like that?
All of those there is, at least so far as I'm concerned,
Mhm.
I will say there is life everywhere.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
If you take it that way, otherwise you will have to define who has life and who does.
So I want to say one comment on this, Guruji. In Prahlada, so this explains the same answer, right? When he believes that Narayana everywhere, his father Hiranyakashipa says, "Oh, if you believe that Narayana is everywhere, can you show him on the pillar? He will say, okay, can you bring the Narayana from this pillar? Do you think he exists in this pillar?" Then he says, if Narayana is everywhere, everywhere, there is like no question of pillar or chair or whatever, door or whatever, right? So that's how that avataram comes through the pillar.
That's right. To them, there's no space limitations.
Correct.
Beautiful. So again, out of that story of Hiranyakashipu and Prahlad, our saints are talking about chapter 6, Loka 30. Yomam Pashyati Sarvatra. Okay.
Yeah, it makes good sense. Thanks, Sunita.
No problem.
All right. Anybody else? I feel so happy that all of you participate so well, so that it makes it interesting to study this together.
And then I have a comment, I think, or that's what I feel, that temples and church and mosques, whatever, they actually limit the presence of God.
Okay. So
That tells you that that's the only place for you to see God, but God is not somewhere, it's a feeling, it's something within you. So that you can take, that is everywhere. I saw God myself in opening a lotus flower. And that became, to me, I saw the God in that. So, because it was opening the movement, all that, and it was, yeah, it's not a temple, it's a pound with a lotus flower. And
yes, excellent point. Mainaven, you've been listening quietly. Go ahead.
Yes. I think it is easy to understand, the God is everywhere. But still there are some occasions and something happens, then you, during day-to-day life, when we sometimes say that this person is a bad person, or this is an evil person. I don't know how to see God. Sometimes when you feel that there is injustice done to you by that person.
Defines injustice.
Well, something bad happened to you or something,
Who defines bad?
Pardon?
Who defines bad or good?
Well, whosoever suffers, probably.
And who suffers? Okay, I don't think I'm not trying to answer your question, and I'm questioning. But all those words we have to go and to picture. Meaning, It is your mind that interprets everything. If the mind has thoroughly understood Yomam Pachati Sarvata, then there is no badness and goodness coming to picture. Because that means what? Your right hand is good and left hand is not. There's nothing wrong.
So that is the detachment, right, Guruji? You're saying basically detaching. Yeah.
It is our mind that conveniently defines, and as soon as again now you say does bad thing. Now bad is the adjective or the name you assign to. As soon as you assign name, nama and rupa, that means you're talking about the object and not the subject. You see how from various angles we come back to subject and object. So this kind of thought need to be contemplated over and over and over by yourself, nobody else. I don't have to remind you, nor I may guide, and I may be guided also, but by reading any book, try not to be convinced. Just think, what do you really mean by somebody hurting you?
But to lead a worldly life, Guruji, I mean, I'm not able to see God everywhere. I'm trying only, we are doing only contemplation to get there. And even holding the Rama or even holding temples, going to temples, we are using that as a vehicle to get there. So until we get there, we still have to lead normal, do whatever we need to do, work, we need to handle politics, we have to handle like Nainaji saying that we have to handle bad people, stay away from them or whatever, they hurt, we cry. For example, I am also doing all these sadhana of spiritual, but like last week, I had like breathing that stuff going on. I was like, I kind of couldn't take it. It's like, how can I get all this suffering? That is physical suffering, right? Nobody hurting me, but physical suffering. How can you come out of that? Even if it's not somebody hurting.
Slowly, little at a time. For example, when you were 1 year old and you fall down, you cry. But now, if you fall down, do you cry? Depends upon the extent of hurt that you may get.
Correct.
So the maturity comes into picture. At that time, when you are hungry and your mom did not give you the food exactly at 11 o'clock, you will cry. Now today, even for 8 hours you didn't eat, do you cry?
No.
So the maturity sets in, understanding, experience sets in. The more and more you understand and learn the maturity out of it. Till then, when you were 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 years old, you had a different concept of Rama. Now you have different. And when you may die, it may be different too. So the maturity develops. So for this again, going back to the spiritual study, Sravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasana. Don't condemn yourself. How come this is not happening? Not happening. Accept it. Move on.
Okay.
Divine will guide you. Spare some time for it. And all of us should feel so happy. One of the reasons we are spending this 1 hour is also a divine grace. Otherwise, you could have been watching the Ukraine war.
Correct, I agree.
Okay. So
thank you, Guruji. Yeah.
Naina Ben, you're doing well, Maribel.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Vijay, you have been contemplating a lot. Good. And you should also feel good that how, your daughter, your wife, everybody is getting connected. They like to read, study. Beautiful. At least get out of this daily routine of I-ness and my-ness. Spend some time in silence. And as Naina was just now saying that somebody did bad thing, ask your own self your question, what do you mean by bad? Who defined bad? Everybody else may be defining bad, but why are you defining bad? So that needs to be understood. And she can say, some person stole my $500. Okay. You say my $500. That means who defined that those 500 were yours? That is taken for granted. That's why you say somebody stole it. But if you would have taken it, like Guru Nanak says, Ram ki chediya, Ram ka khet, kalo chediya, barbar pet. Everything is divine, everything belongs to God. If you want it, take it. So if somebody would have taken 500, would have done Naina a favor. You know what? She doesn't have to worry about preserving that $500. She doesn't have it, so she doesn't have to worry at all. So she can be thankful to her instead of thinking bad thing. And Naina at that time can very easily say, okay, Sonaji, in that case, you give me 500. Different way we can keep on arguing. But for all this, all I can request is Manaha Shanti, Chitta Prasannata. Whichever way your mind can be quietened and your awareness can be expanded, do so. So by saying that, it limits you.
Swamiji, I was just listening to one of the lady who lost her relative in the shooting on Saturday. So the newscast guy asked her, will you forgive him? And she said, yes, I forgive him because if I don't, I'll hurt myself.
Beautiful. God bless her.
Yeah. So that was, I said, oh my gosh, yeah, that's so true because otherwise she'll never be in peace.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is once again, chapter 2, stanza 48, Sangam Tyakva Dhananjaya. Sangam, association, relationship. So, and people say, oh, Sonaji, it's so easier said than done. Understand, if you do not want to do it, don't do it. If you want to do it, do it. But at the end of this exercise, who is at better peace of mind? That's all. But good.
One thing I know for sure, and that's to understand or even know what God is and all that, you have got to cancel your logical mind, because every way you want to go with your mind. It can guide you, but logic, just sitting there thinking this and that and the other, and where is God and why this, and that will not bring you closer to God. If anything, will send you further from the God. Your mind has to be shut off, and that's the only way, I think.
So I will just end with the last sentence. It is the mind that we have to study, that is the central point of, or that should be the central point of all the religion, all the spiritual study. Just study the mind, or study of mind, not with mind. Okay. Oh.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Thank you, Guruji.
Now it's